bienvenidos to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making tortitas de Santa Clara or Santa Clara cookies. Vámonos! And here we are once more in September, the best month of the year. And as you can see, I'm ready to celebrate both Mexico and my birthday. So get ready to be indulged because I have coming your way a few of my many favorite recipes throughout this month. And I thought it would be sweet to start with cookies. And that takes us into a little trip to Puebla, which exquisite gastronomy. It's one of the most recognizable of Mexico. And also we need to take a trip back in time to the Viceroyalty period, where the elites were in power hand in hand with church. And that takes us to today's recipe, tortitas de Santa Clara or Santa Clara cookies or St. Clair's cookies. And guess who came up with such a delicacy? If you guessed nuns, it means that you've been watching my videos for a little while, and I appreciate that. It is in fact the nuns from Puebla, specifically from the Santa Clara Convent, who came up with this recipe. They came up with a mixture of the pre-Hispanic candies and the European Spanish recipes, putting them together into a cookie that has the class and elegance of royalty. So I want to share that with you. Let's go. Everything starts with pumpkin seeds that you have to soak overnight. You need to soak them overnight because we are due to remove the green skin that covers them. After soaking them overnight and rubbing them with a paper towel, or better yet, a kitchen towel, the skin comes off just like that. And we're gonna have to do that to every single one of those seeds. So my advice will be, number one, use a kitchen towel instead of a paper towel because it will last you the whole process. Leave your seeds underwater because that way you can take little breaks and they won't dry off. Sit down and watch yourself some movies or series or documentaries because this is gonna take a while. After a few movies, a couple of breaks, and almost a meltdown, here they are, all nicely peeled off. Now you have two options. You can dry them a little bit further or just let them air out and set them aside. And I promise you that was the hardest part of the whole process. Now we're going to proceed to make our cookies. And for that, I'm afraid that I didn't hit the right button at the right time. So I have here 100 grams of shortening, 50 grams of lard, and 60 grams of powdered sugar. This is basically a variation of a sugar cookie, so feel free to adjust your fats. You could go for 150 grams of shortening, increase or decrease the lard, skip it, and even if you feel like it, use butter. The only difference is that you're gonna be affecting the taste and the spread of the cookie in the end. It's not how the authentic cookies are made. I don't recommend it, but if that's your preference, do whatever you need to do. We're going to beat the fats and sugar until they're well incorporated. Start with low speed and increase as you go. Don't forget to scrape the sides of your bowl. Once we have a soft base, we are going to add 2 egg yolks. The eggs are gonna give the cookies their characteristic color and also provide structure. And even though the traditional recipe doesn't call for it, I like to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. It is important to balance the flavor, otherwise, the cookies will be very eggy, and vanilla does a great job by softening that flavor. Continue mixing until you achieve a softer yellow. Everything is well incorporated, and don't forget to clean your bowl. For the dry ingredients, we're gonna need 370 grams of flour with, of course, a pinch of salt and only half a teaspoon of baking powder. Mix that well, and we will be incorporating this while our mix is spinning in low speed. Once we achieve a sand-like consistency, we'll be incorporating 37 milliliters of cold water, which is almost a quarter of a cup. Continue mixing and scraping for a few minutes until your dough binds together. Don't overmix, we are not looking to develop any gluten. After a couple of minutes, we are ready to finish your dough in your table. Gently and using the heat of my hands, I want to homogenize the dough without overworking it. Lightly press the dough on itself, picking up any crumbs and pieces on your table. Fold it once or twice on itself and very gently dough it until you have a smooth dough. Shape your dough into a disc and wrap it in plastic. We need to let our dough rest at least for 20 minutes in the fridge before cutting the cookies. To avoid cracks and air trapped in your dough, once you have it wrapped in plastic, use a rolling pin from center to edges all over your. This will help you avoid that and will make it easier when we need to extend our dough. Sprinkle just a little bit of flour on your table and on your rolling pin and start extending your dough. We want to achieve 3/8 of an inch thickness. And yes, I've just learned to say that. I don't think I will ever fully learn imperial measurements. To cut my cookies, I'm using a 3-inch circle cutter and this little flat bottom cup that is 2 inches wide. Get yourself some flour and start cutting your cookies. Now, I went ahead of myself and started cutting the circles, but you're gonna see why you need to do one at a time. So I went back into each one of my cookies, left the cutter in, and then with my cup, press down right in the center. Give it a nice press. You want to create a little border, and by leaving the cutter in, you get this little lift on the sides that we're going to be decorating later. As you can see, I had an even little bump all around. The cup will create a little well for our pumpkin seeds candy to go into. And this is why we need to keep an even thickness so when we press with the cup, we still have a consistent base. Using a fork, we're going to poke a few holes in that base to keep it from rising. These cookies are traditionally made with molds, so I'm gonna do my best to recreate the shape that these cookies have. To create the ridges, I'm gonna be using a fork. Lay the fork flat on the table and swing the prongs forward. Give it a little press and go all around your cookie. By pressing with the fork laying flat on the table, we are gonna create some sort of an angle which resembles the shape that the mold gave the original ones. It also helps to emphasize the little borders of our well. Continue with the rest of your cookies and transfer them into a baking sheet. We're going to bake them at 350 Fahrenheit between 18 and 20 minutes. In total, I was able to do 25 cookies with this amount of dough, but I had half left over of the pumpkin candy. So if you double the amount of the dough, you'll be able to make easily 50 cookies. And here they are, fresh out of the oven. We need to let them completely cool down. Let's proceed to make the pumpkin seed candy. Here are the pumpkin seeds that I peeled before. I have 170 grams of them, and this is how they look after I grind them in the food processor. We're gonna set them aside while we make some simple syrup. For that, I'm gonna bring 174 mils of water and 174 grams of sugar to a boil. Stir it just once at the beginning and let it be. Have your thermometer at hand because we are trying to get to the soft ball stage, which you achieve between 235 and 240 Fahrenheit. So keep your eye on your candy and be very careful. Other indicators of soft ball stage will be the evenly sized bubbles on top of your syrup, and you can always do the drop water test. Drop a little bit of your syrup in the water, and if a ball forms and you can squish it, it's ready. Now we're going to remove it from the heat and add our pumpkin seeds flour or paste. Incorporate the pumpkin seeds into your candy and mix well. Once everything is well mixed, we're going to bring it back into the food processor. If you've noticed by now, to make this candy, you will need equal parts pumpkin seeds, sugar, water, and half a portion of milk, which in this case would be 87 mils. Take that back to the processor and we'll get this consistency. Now it's only time to let it cool down and transfer it into a piping bag. And with everything ready, the only step missing is to assemble these wonderful cookies. So bring your cookies back, grab your piping bag, and start piping. I find that using a piping bag is the most efficient and less messy way to do it. Traditionally, they are filled in by hand with a spoon. But I know how messy I am and I wouldn't be able to do it. Now, to give them a nice shape, we're gonna tap them down and flatten them with a little offset spatula. And now the hardest part, because I know you will be eager to give them a bite, but you have to let them sit and let that candy set. So give them around 10 minutes depending on how warm it is where you live, and then feel free to dig in. And here they are. I am very pleased on how they turned out. They definitely smell just like the ones I remember. They taste just like the ones I remember. There is definitely a few differences, like the texture of the candy and of course the shape of the cookie because I made them by hand, but there is no doubt that they carry all those years of tradition and the elegance of something so simple but yet so delicate that talks not just about a culture but a history in the making. I really love these cookies. I haven't had the authentic ones in a while, and as soon as I bit into them, I was just right there. And it got me a little bit emotional, I have to say. There are a few differences between these and the ones that you can get in Puebla. Of course, there's a coarser candy, but you can fix that if you dehydrate your nuts before pulverizing them so you can get a flour instead of a paste, and that will definitely give you a finer candy. But if you're not bothered by the texture, this tastes just as the original ones. And I know it's a pain to do all the shelling of the nuts, but it is worth it. And that just make me think of all the work and love that it's put into make something special and make something delicate and elegant. So it's worth it. I did see a couple of recipes online that keep the shell on. The only difference is that you will have a green candy. So if you don't want to go through the trouble, do that. But whatever you do, just give them a try and tell me what you think. If you never had them, it's such a different kind of cookie. The nuttiness and the sweetness of the candy goes very well with a cookie that is not overly sweet. And it feels elegant. It feels delicate. It feels elevated. So if you're in for the trip, go ahead and make them because they're worth it. I swear to you, they are worth it. They're not gonna last long. And if you, just like me, are ready to celebrate this Mexican Patriotic Month and you enjoy this recipe, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and be notified so you don't miss any of the delicious recipes that are coming this month. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.